Welcome back to Doing Football, presented by Owner's Box Fantasy Sports. Today, Tyler McKillop, Jared Hall back to talk some fantasy football. More specifically, over the weekend and then into Monday, we got news that Julio Jones absolutely is on his way out of Atlanta. Was on Undisputed with Shannon and Skip, saying that he is definitely not going to be back with the Falcons in 2021. I think something both me and Jared said doesn't surprise us, right? In any way that he's not going to be back. Makes sense for both sides at this point, especially for the Falcons. I think they have a chance to, give a guy like Calvin Ridley more opportunity. What, Jared, do you think, with some of these players in the offense, projection-wise into 2021 with knowing that he's departing?
For me, I think a lot of it stays the same. If you look into the splits of everything, like Julio played only, I believe, 8 games last season, so only half the season. In the games he didn't play, Ridley put up 17 fantasy points, half PPR fantasy points per game, compared to 15 with Julio. If you look at other guys like Russell Gage, 8.9 without Julio, 8.6 with him. Hurst, 7.2 without him, 7.8 with him. This offense is going to be pretty much the same. I know they got Kyle Pitts coming in, but he's a rookie. I don't know how much he's going to do. The big loss would come from Matt Ryan. In his career without Julio, Matt Ryan has 17.8 points per game versus 21.5 with. And then even in 2020, it was 18.5 without and 21 or 22.7 with. So he's going to take a bit of a hit here. The rest of the offense stays the same, but I think their values are going to go up in terms of how when you have to draft them. So might mean you take them less often in drafts.
Yeah, what do you think of, let's go Mike Davis first, because we saw 2020 with Carolina, with McCaffrey out, he got the ball a fair bit, both as a running back and a pass catcher. Where, I need to think of somebody that I'd be thinking about in comparison, but I think Mike Davis could see a similar workload from Carolina now with a bit more passing opportunity, right?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to have a pretty big role in that offense. They have nobody at running back. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Todd Gurley or really any of the guys they had last year, but Mike Davis looks to be the lead back there, and he's probably going to catch a bunch of passes as well. So I could see him playing a pretty big role, and he could be one of the best running back values in this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What do you think of maybe Davis and Etienne? Is that not close?
In redraft?
Yeah, redraft.
I think it could be close just because Etienne will probably end up being the guy in Jacksonville. We just don't know how long it'll take for James Robinson to be phased out. But it could be pretty close, and I'd probably still go Etienne just because of the upside, but Mike Davis is a great value pick.
Yeah, I think it's somebody that you can rely on early in the season with volume, touches. Yeah, the Falcons aren't going to be eager to, if they did, I think they had 2 undrafted free agents, Huntley and Javian Hawkins, that maybe, they'd be willing to give those guys a chance at younger legs, and are certainly not, don't owe Mike Davis anything at his age and what level of play he provides, but definitely a nice floor for Mike Davis, especially in your later in the rounds at running back. Now, Kyle Pitts. So I said this to you, Kyle Pitts isn't your typical tight end, the ones we've seen come from Iowa with Hawkinson and Fant. He's not going to be able to be a great pass protector. He's going to run a lot of routes as a receiver. I think this is of course a good thing for him, but I know we should definitely mention this is, the history of the tight end position for rookies.
Yeah. It's pretty rough for rookies. The best tight end season for a rookie since the Super Bowl era started is 81 catches, 869 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which is about 10.5 half PPR points per game. Not that great for the best ever. So
yeah.
Are we really, if that's Kyle Pitts' ceiling and he's being drafted at the end of the 5th round in redraft leagues and best ball leagues, we're drafting him at his upside right now. That's his peak. So you're not going to get much better than that. He's going to be a fade for me this year.
Yeah, when we got the news and I said to you, I'm excited. Kyle Pitts is I think a great player. He's going to be a great player in the league, and I think of course with Julio gone, there's more opportunity for him. I'm excited. I think there's a ceiling there of a tight end for one of the best tight end seasons, rookie seasons in history. But that is an absolute ceiling where he puts together everything comes together for him. there is I can see a way with Hayden Hurst still being there that he's a tight end 10 and that he's a tight end 12. So like, don't get too excited about this departure of Julio Jones in Atlanta. It might not make a huge impact in terms of, these guys climbing up your rankings and where they finish at the end of 2021. At the very least, a guy like Calvin Ridley might take a little jump in your dynasty formats. I don't think it's too much, but in 2021, there might not be, some significant changes. Let's go from there quickly. I want to wrap this up with a bit of Julio talk. Julio Jones is 32 years old.
Yeah.
Coming off an injury, do we think we can expect to see the 2019, 2018 outclip in 2021 in the right situation?
I think usually I would say no based on his age, but this is Julio Jones we're talking about, one of the best wide receivers of all time. He's just built different. It really depends on the landing spot, though, and we're going to get into a couple of our landing spots we like, but in the right spot, I think he could be just like he was in 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, I looked before we hopped on here, guys like Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, their age 32 seasons and after are still incredibly good. Don't think that Julio Jones coming off of one injury-riddled season at age 32 means that he's not going to be relevant and as good as he's been in the past few years. There are plenty of guys that have shown us that they've been just as good at age 32 and beyond. And Julio Jones is, I think, this era's, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, Anquan Bolden. He's had a tremendous career. So let's get into a couple of the spots that we look. Let's start with where we would like to see him go. Jared, tell me where you'd like to see Julio Jones play in 2021.
I mentioned it on Twitter, but I really like the Titans as a landing spot for him. Right now, it's only A.J. Brown there. They lost Johnny Smith. They lost Corey Davis. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, that's just an unstoppable duo there.
Yeah.
Tannehill's going to be throwing it to them deep. He could potentially put up really great numbers in that offense, and I would love that for everybody involved in fantasy on that team.
Yeah, the hype around A.J. Brown would certainly come down. That's of course, because Julio Jones is going to require 80, 100 catches in a season minimum, but would make the offense tremendously better. It's a need, right? Ultimately that's where it is. Josh Reynolds is probably the wide receiver 2 right now in Tennessee. My team that I would really like to see him go to is the LA Chargers. I'm a Los Angeles Chargers fan, but I think
no bias.
There's no bias here. Being the information that I think I have from the team, he would be a great fit for Justin Herbert in that offense. The departure of Hunter Henry, I think Jared Cook is not going to be able to replace at the same volume that Hunter Henry kind of has had in LA. And as well, that wide receiver 3 spot is open. Not that Julio would be playing at that spot, but Mike Williams is on the last year of his contract. They picked up the option. The two of them are making the same amount of money, so I think the Chargers would be happy to have a year of both Mike and Julio, and then basically swap the money out for Mike Williams hits free agency. Julio Jones is there as their wide receiver 2, or their wide receiver 1, 1A, 1B with Keenan Allen. And, you got to win on your rookie. You got to win during your quarterback's rookie deals. Try to push for a Super Bowl in that rookie deal for your quarterback. That's huge. So it'd make a lot of sense for the Chargers. But as much sense it makes and how much money there is available, there is, the Falcons want a first round pick in exchange for Julio Jones. I don't think they're going to get it, but maybe that leads us to, where do you think he actually ends up? Julio actually ends up when it's all said and done.
I could see him going with the Patriots. They've expressed interest, and he's expressed interest the other way as well. He wants to go to a team that wins. I mean, maybe not the Patriots anymore, but historically they have, so that might impact him. Bill Belichick. They have the cap space. They've got about $20 million in cap. They need an elite wide receiver. They just spent so much money in free agency. I think Belichick wants to make a splash, and I think that's something that could happen here. Yeah,
I was going to say the exact same thing. I think the Patriots make a ton of sense, especially with a potential transition to Mac Jones. I think this year, if Cam Newton's the starter, Julio's going to have to put together his best slant boy Michael Thomas impression if he wants to actually eat some targets, because Cam Newton doesn't have the arm to push the ball down the field like Matt Ryan does. So I think the Patriots make a lot of sense, cap space included. They need somebody as that wide receiver 1, like Kendrick Bourne. They added the tight ends, but they don't have that. Yeah, Aguilar. They don't have that guy that they can go to on any given play. So Julio makes a ton of sense in New England. It is going to be interesting how this next short little while goes on with the Julio drama here because June 1, the Falcons do have to pay him some money, so I could see this happening in the next few days. I think, like we said, the Chargers, the Titans, and the Patriots make a ton of sense for Julio as a place to be in 2021 and the remaining years of his contract, but we're going to find out real soon. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.